Happy Wednesday, everybody. Another fun Inscription Show underway. Today, we're not going to be talking about Counterparty because we did deal with that drama yesterday. Holy moly. Adam, what's your take on Counterparty? Is J-Dog ruining everything again for everyone?
To be honest, it kind of feels that way, sadly. I think, I don't know him personally. I've never really hung out with him in person. And I don't know why he gets so defensive, other than he kind of looks at it as this is his baby. And, he has a right to kind of feel that way. For years, he was the only one doing anything there. Right. So I can feel how he feels, maybe slighted or not included or whatever, but this is like, we've run this race twice with him, once with stamps and SRC 20s, and now this again. And his default is, well, just fork it, and you guys will deal with the aftermath. And obviously, I think last time was there were a couple things going on. But the whole argument that it was, spam on the chain, or, it's breaking my index, it's too much for me to handle my index, or this and that. It just, the arguments there are super kind of weak. I thought they were weak back then. I still think they're pretty weak. And this time that it broke, this kind of very niche feature, which him and like two other dudes use. It's like, dude, to kind of try and blow up the whole ecosystem or divide the whole ecosystem based on these really, really tiny things that basically you and one other person claim to care about, just feels really, really, really weak sauce and just not great for the community as a whole. I think that's my kind of overarching view. I might be wrong because I'm not like super, super deep in those telegrams, but that's the kind of vibe I get, sadly.
Adam, I just know you hate forks because you're trying to FUD my Counterparty Classic Rare Pepe bags. So that
you get extra value when there's two of your stuff.
So that I can offload them because they're the real V1s. They're the real V1 Rare Pepes and Spells of Genesis, and you're fighting my bags for better entry here.
I mean, we in the HNFT community, we've been down this road, right?
Many times.
We run it. We've been, raked over the coals with it, and we see it is completely counterproductive. It is completely counterproductive. I put out a tweet the other day about, Bell's coin and Lucky coin and guys going at it on the chain, and I'm like, guys, please, been down this road. Ask anybody in the HNFT community. This is uber small. It doesn't allow new entrants to come in. They get raked and they get worked over. And why would anybody want to be a part of this? And dude, it's so funny. I got like 5 DMs from people who were like, bro, I'm so glad you said that. That was awesome. Yes, 100%. Literally people reviving old coins who were like, bro, 100%. And if you see anybody in my community, coming at you, let me know and I'll tamp them down. I was like, bro, awesome. And then there was like one HNFT guy who was like, this is bullshit, dude. Whatever. Blockchain doesn't lie stuff. And I was like, oh my God, bro. Here we, yeah. So there are some people who just want to fight tooth and nail about the dumbest stuff. And, congratulations. You're going to have the smallest community on earth that nobody gives a shit about.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I actually put something almost identical, I think like a day or two before you.
I literally worked off of yours. I posted yours in our Discord, like, in the Bell's Coin Discord, like when you posted it. And I was like, guys, this is the vibe we should be going for. And yeah, mine was an expanse of your tweet. For sure.
I mean, just talking, just going through that topic, we both lived in that narrative for 2 years, me, you, and Leo. And we were, in terms of like large accounts, there was like 4 large accounts in the historical NFT community. It was Leo was first, you were always second. I think White Rabbit was third, and then I was fourth. And 3 of us left because we were basically forced out because of the toxicity of the community. I actually was on something called the Relics DAO in the NFT Relics community that pushed me out of the DAO because I supported Adam and Leonidas in terms of like being able to just think differently. It was like this, like they were trying to put everything into a box of, Namecoin aren't assets, right? Because the token provenance is this. And we debated these conversations for months and months and months on end. If you go through our
NFTs, it's like, dude, it's like literally we had these conversations. I mean, it's hard to, somebody maybe write a book, Jake, you can write a book about it, but dude, it's so bad. And like, still the negativity literally continues to this day, where I post about historical NFTs still all the time. I still absolutely am a firm believer. I've sold nothing, right? And yet people are still like, you're not HNFT enough. It's like, what is that, man? It's crazy talk. It's literally crazy talk.
So, I don't know. I don't know if we're just so jaded by it or not, but now, even today, anytime I see somebody say they're the first of anything, I'm just like, dear God, keep me away from this. Even like small communities that continue to fight that they're the first. I think we saw this in the ordinals community, where it was who's the first to 10K PFP. And I think it was over 4 different communities. I think it was like honey badgers, on-chain monkeys, node monkeys, and Bitcoin punks. And I think they still fight about to this day. And I'm like, there's nobody winning this battle. It's just everyone just leaves those communities is really what it is at the end of the day. And and you think about those 4, basically 3 of them are, kind of sitting at 0. The only one that won is node monkeys early. I think it's because they really dropped it after a while. They just didn't care. You just go push something else.
Yep.
So to all those meme coin communities out there, it's cool to say you're early, but continually battling people, even if you are, the first one. Collectors, view things differently. This is the issue with Namecoin, was because the assets could be re-registered. Some of the collectors viewed it as, I don't care if the asset expires. It's when it was first registered, because it's the Explorer is tied into the Namecoin blockchain, so therefore the registration is on chain. These other people are like, well, the token expired, so therefore the provenance is gone. And that's what ultimately ended up dividing and creating even more cracks across the community. So I was talking with a big buyer earlier this year who was buying a bunch of Bell's coin and who wanted to buy a bunch of Bell's coin. And he was asking me about Lucky Coin. I was like, man, I've seen this book way too many times. First, I talked with him about the HNFT stuff, and because he was part of the community. And then the second one, I was like, in trends in crypto, whoever's first to the meta always wins. Like that one always goes significantly higher than anything else. Yeah, you'll get things that trace or that follow, but whoever's first to the meta is always the winner, and it goes much higher than anyone thinks. And once you start chasing these other ones, it'll pump a little bit, but it never goes as high as that first narrative.
Yep. Yeah, we've seen that time and again, for sure. For sure. I mean, it's still fun. I have lots of derivatives and, number 2s and stuff. And like you said, they can always have a nice pump too. But yeah, it is what it is, man. But I was reminded the last couple of weeks as things got super negative on the timeline. I was just like, I don't want to, I will not participate in this again. Not doing round 2. Like your coin, awesome. Lucky Coin, great, bro. Dude, Lucky Coin, dude. Bell's coin came out of Lucky Coin, dude. There's no question to that. But then I'm, what are we fighting here? It is what it is. Bell's coin to the moon.
Yeah. Have you
have a fun space with Mexi? That was fun talking about.
I was about to ask, what's the recap on that? I listened to it a little bit, but I want to hear your opinions.
The recap is nobody knows a goddamn thing about anything. That's what, dude. I mean, it's like we're so deep in the trenches, right? Well, what about me? Dude, people don't even know what the fuck. They don't know that Dogecoin has its own blockchain. Like, people are at 0, dude. So that's why I just think as a whole, I mean, dude, we've said this about crypto in general. The battles that go on in crypto in general are so stupid and so short-sighted. Like, dude, we have the entire world to onboard, and they come in here and they see this like garbage that we have going on. Just as far as personalities go, it's so counterproductive. And I understand bag bias is a super powerful force here, but trying to cut down everybody else to make yourself taller is just a terrible long-term strategy.
It's funny here. I've pulled up the CoinGecko. You guys paid $30K for this Mexi listing, and it's still being doubled by CoinX, which was free.
Are those numbers right? Wow, that's incredible, man. Oh yeah.
CoinX has 500K in 24 hours, and Maxi has 245,000.
That's amazing, man.
Non KYC has dropped a little bit down there, down to under 100K.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe
I would have expected that for sure. You know, it's people who hold bags are looking for the exit liquidity and going where the money is. So I would assume taking their bells off non KYC, trying to get them onto MEXC. Who knows, man? I don't know how this all works. You know, I'm sure there's ARBs to be had somewhere in there.
Yeah, there's also U.S. regulations as well, which is where most people trade. I'm trying to pull up here on here. I'm pulling up. Yeah, so this does look right. It has the same information on CoinMarketCap as well.
Just was going through there today and noticed that there are a bunch of exchanges that aren't even listed there. You know, who've already listed on Bells or have already listed Bells, but aren't on CoinMarketCap.
The shady ones who can't make CoinMarketCap listings.
There were some legit ones. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Then I reached out to their team and they're like, oh yeah, we'll go do it. You know,
that would be like the first thing I do.
Yeah, but you could do CoinMarketCap. I mean, obviously it's like a massive corporation, but it's like talking to, I don't know, AT&T. Like, good luck, man. It's like every time it's a total nightmare to get anything corrected or anything right. Yeah, so it's been that's a challenge. Thankfully, I haven't had to deal with that challenge, but I know a bunch of guys have had to deal with that, and it's pretty much a nightmare.
I did see that the V-Bells pool today is now above 50K for the first time. Somebody put in a bunch of ETH.
Awesome.
This morning, like somebody put in like 20 or 30K. So I think once this next leg up happens with Bells coin, you'll see that liquidity pool over 100K, which I think then you could start making kind of large purchases. You could start doing like, 10K purchases at a time. And next step, I think, would be getting some of the V-Bell stuff listed on some of these DeFi places. Let's use as collateral. And I know Graham has been cooking up some incentives as well with his token. I think it's called like TLVT, I think. So if you're a long,
I think he was actually put it out on the timeline, like he was debating what he was going to put for the token name. So if anybody go look at Graham's account and tweet at him what you think his ticker should be. Yeah.
In terms of Bells coin, have you seen any projects pop up? I was trying to look through the other day. I saw something called like a Bells wall or something like that. But have you seen actually like any builders make it over here? There's been a lot of, people saying that they are. Yeah. But I have not seen any come over yet.
I mean, obviously there's tons of PFP type stuff. The Bells wall and that guy Owen, who's done some stuff there too. There's some playing around. I don't see anything significant as far as like, obviously the Nintendo guys are doing, the big marketplace. Seems like Ordinal Wallet guys, they're into doing full fractal right now. Full fractal. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's amazing. Like, fractal seems to have vanished from my timeline, but is it on your guys' timeline right now?
Not as much. I do see them making steady development progress, though, which is generally good. Once that hype fades, you want to see new development. And I'm seeing OKX just listed a Cat 20 marketplace yesterday. And the Ordinal Wallet guys are actually making some progress. They said that they created the first ever miner exchange using OpCat, which is what they want to bring to Bitcoin. They've basically abandoned they haven't abandoned. I mean, they basically pivoted all their development activity to, I think it's called Fleur.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've listened to
G, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've listened to Jack Liu talk about this a lot, about the future of exchanges he calls them MEX, which is like miner exchanges, where it's like miner validated exchanges. And it's using OpCat to do this. And so basically, from my understanding, is like the transactions, because you can concatenate transactions, which is basically like pairing them together. You can basically have the miners validate these transactions somehow.
Yeah.
From what I hear on Bitcoin, though, doing this on Bitcoin is like insanely expensive. So you know, it'll
Trade trustlessly. It's $1,000 per transaction. Yeah.
right. So here is the I'm pulling up here on the live stream.
Yeah,
I'm sure this is literally just a mock-up, but Harry's pretty smart. See, it says Cat FB, so they're doing this on Cat 20, and it'll probably work on Fractal really well because it is cheap transactions. Could be a big win. Will it make it over to Bitcoin? Is the big question. We talked about this months ago about if anybody was ever to front run, Udi and their OpCat thing, right, with Cat VM, because they started the narrative too early and it took too long to, get it implemented to Bitcoin. You're going to have all these kind of OpCat companies pop up and potentially front run their narrative. Do you think this puts some heat under them in terms of, their development? Or do you think they just have such legitimacy in the Bitcoin space that no matter what any other competitors put out, people are just going to use whatever they serve us?
That's an interesting question. I mean, my gut says that Udi's a brilliant marketer and they'll be able to market whatever they build. And I would think they're building something bigger than exchanges type of thing, right? They're building like the bridge,
Yeah, it's like an L2 kind of thing.
Yeah, they're building something to basically make, L2 or, every other, UTXO chain can easily be an L2 for Bitcoin, something like that. Because certainly like these guys, with Fleur GG or whatever, all these guys building on Fractal, hopefully Beltscoin and stuff, are going to have a massive advantage for when it launches on Bitcoin, right? So I don't know. Even with what Udi's building, if they haven't tried it out on other chains where it's possible, I do think they're at a disadvantage, even with all the marketing. I'm honestly surprised that they aren't kind of rolling something out even on stealth mode on these other chains just to give it a try. I don't know.
Chris, what's your take here? You think Ordinal's wallet and some of these other competitors could potentially front run the Quantum Cat narrative?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. For Fleur.gg, I've been following it a bit. Looks like a pretty good build out. The Fractal rollout was pretty interesting. It was literally the biggest hype of the year, and then it fell pretty much flat on its face completely. I even saw Unisat added the Fractal integration, and I haven't seen anyone talk about that at all. Haven't seen basically any trading going on. But obviously, I'm with Adam. If you have a sandbox and you're obviously building out before the launch on Bitcoin, it's hard to keep an advantage. I mean, it's easy to keep an advantage against someone that's not doing that. So, I think Udi turned out to be a lot more marketing than I would have originally prescribed to him. I thought he was like much more signal, much less noise. And so really kind of want to see some products rolling out after they raised a pretty good amount from both NFT raises, and then obviously they raised a bit of VC too, right? So usually would have expected more from them, but kind of interesting. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait. What do you think?
You think so they raised, I think, $7 or $8 million from VCs, and then their raise was 3,000 times 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.09 Bitcoin. So what is that? That's like 300 Bitcoin, right? So you're saying they have what, $20-30 million? Right. They have been hiring, basically literally every developer that's out there. Any notable developer in Bitcoin, they've basically been hiring.
Yeah.
So my question is just, how are they spending all of that marketing capital now? Or is the marketing capital just infinite, which is possible in some cases?
I don't think they're spending much on marketing. I think that it's more just
it's like they're spending their social capital right now, right? Because Udi has to keep the narrative going for a long time, even as these other things pop up.
It's been a long time already, right? So I don't know.
I mean, what happens if OpCat does not happen on Bitcoin? What happens to, are they just then a PFP company? They're basically Yuga Labs. I don't know, man. It doesn't seem. Yeah, Udi has to make that happen, right?
Yeah, should be interesting. I don't know. I got a Quantum Cat. Been holding that thing. It's been stuck at 0.2 for a year at this point now.
Maybe they're like a lower level block stream. Just money comes in, never comes back the other side. Just the NFT version, the Wish version of a block stream.
The NFT version of Blockstream.
They're Blockstream 2.0, man.
In the in the same light of L2s or people who are now defeating Blockstream. I don't know if you guys saw Stacks Nakamoto upgrade finally happened.
How long was that in the works for? Like how many years?
Like over 2 years at this point. And they paused it. Cool. I think it was supposed to happen like at the beginning of the summer, then it was later in the summer, and then finally got pushed to today or yesterday or whenever it was. Congrats to them.
Yeah.
Congrats to the team. It's definitely, when you read about, the technicals of it and like what it does, it definitely is more like an L2, where it's kind of like what Fractal's doing, where it's like every other block or something like that, they pushes the transactions to Bitcoin. So kind of like what Ethereum does, but it's also locked to Bitcoin to where the only time a reorg could happen on Stacks is if a reorg happens on Bitcoin. And so if that's the case, I think it was Bob was talking about it this morning, that if that's the case, you can basically confirm transactions with just one confirmation, because if the only possibility of reverting transactions is if Bitcoin has a reorg, then basically every transaction safe, right? Because if Bitcoin's reorg, you have a much bigger issue than if Stacks is reorging. So, the question then becomes, what next? Like now you have very fast transactions. It's something comparable to, an Ethereum L2, but it's more closely tied to Bitcoin than any other sidechain. I say L2 just because I'm just generalizing it, but some of the technical people are like, actually, it's a sidechain. Does this bring new builders over to Stacks? Is the scaling, there's so many L2s out there now and people still competing. Is there even enough users at this point for, L2s to even be competitive? Adam, have you followed Stacks at all recently? Do you think this puts them, basically back in the driver's seat of, commanding the L2 space?
No. I mean, look, man, what product am I going to use on Stacks? Right. It's just what product, man? Tell me the product that I'm going to use over there. I don't see any product. I've never heard of one. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe it's great now. Okay. You can do meme coins on Stacks now. Okay. Well, maybe, if somebody builds the pumped up fund on Stacks now, maybe it'll work. But dude, without a product that people want to use, nobody cares, dude. I'm at this stage of like, who cares? We're talking, with obviously the guys from Ape Chain and all these L2s being built on Bitcoin base, all these ones. But the reality is that, Luca has it right. It's like, where are the eyeballs coming from? Who's going to come over here to do anything? And I see very little from the Stacks side. The only time I've ever heard really Stacks pop was when, people were minting whatever Stacks 20 coins or whatever the hell it was going on over there.
Oh, dude, remember those were fun.
A couple days, and then it turned out, well, Stacks can't scale, and maybe it scales now, and obviously they put in a tremendous amount of work. So I'm not fading it, meaning it can't happen, but who's going to build something that you actually want to use over there, or are Bitcoiners going to want to use over there? It just seems really unlikely right now. Very unlikely.
This is the BitFlow is the only really highly anticipated application on Stacks that I've seen recently that has any sort of traction. There could be others out there. It's basically kind of like a Uniswap. It's supposed to bring runes trading over here as well and integrate with, some of these other kind of meta protocols. I was browsing around this, I think yesterday. It has like a point system, right? It's got all the kind of like bells and whistles that all these other kind of DeFi platforms have. And, this to me seems to be where the winning horse is so far. But at the end of the day, I'm still kind of unsure.
It's like, okay, well, I want to swap. I want to make money on my tokens. Of course I do, right? If I bring them there, is there liquidity there? Right? Is there volume there? Are a bunch of buyers there? Like, it just doesn't make, you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense. Really, the only guys who have really done anything are the Merlin guys. Like the Merlin guys, where they were like, bro, bring your stuff over and you're going to get rewards, bullshit points, whatever. And people did it because their stuff was worth 0 anyway, right? Or near 0. And so they did it. But they were the only ones who like got into something that actually like, you know, moved the needle for the users. Like just another trading platform, another swap tool.
Yeah. So they do have SBTC, which they're supposed to be launching soon. That's like supposed to be the decentralized Bitcoin derivative, right? It's going to compete with Coinbase BTC, with Wrapped BTC, with etc. They've gone through. It might actually end up being the most decentralized one of them all. I put that in quotes, but you know, they have that narrative going, and then they just make, you know, they'll have to try to offer all these incentives for this type of Bitcoin. There's so many derivative Bitcoins now, or synthetic Bitcoins. It's going to be tough to compete, but you know, they do have that narrative, and they have literally hundreds of millions of dollars in venture capital backing, like literally hundreds of millions of dollars going back to 2017.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Stacks token list here for market caps. So you have Liquid Staked Charisma. So this is a DeFi token. It says $1 billion. Oh, that's not right. So you have Stacks, which is a $2.6 billion token. Then you have kind of the Stacks. That's the staking version. Then the next highest, so I guess you'd say the highest valued token that's not a Stacks token or Bitcoin is the Alex Governance token, which is $78 million. And then the next one is a meme coin called the Corgi coin, which is $28 million. And then kind of just goes over some others. So not much in terms of projects that are on there as well. I guess
did I see Wrapped Bitcoin there was like 7 million? Is that what? Yeah, Wrapped Bitcoin.
Yeah, so this is XBTC.
Oh, okay.
But it's pretty much the same thing. I forgot Stacks also had like the Miami coin and New York coin, Vegas coin they were going to do. I remember those. Those were kind of fun back in the day. Chris and I actually, in our previous business, really we're trying to convince the city of Las Vegas to do Las Vegas coin. You remember that, Chris? You remember that? That was fun.
Yeah.
I remember what were those? I know there was like a Miami
Yeah.
like, city did something with those things for.
Yeah, they were like municipal coins, so you can do like civil duties and public service for additional coins. It was kind of a cool idea, to be honest.
Chris and I met with the first we met with my buddy Michael Naft, who's the Clark County commissioner, but then we also met with like the economic development person of the city, and we were trying to explain Bitcoin, and they had the most stereotypical, well, who runs Bitcoin? I was like, oh God.
Yeah, really, really rough that time.
Yeah.
Did I meet the Satoshi character?
Yeah, basically, that's how it went.
Yeah, it was one of those conversations. You're like, oh man, this is tough. But basically what you had to do is you're trying to get the city to mine the coin, and then you get other people to mine it. And I think the city got like 20 or 30% of the mining rewards. And for Miami, it was working for a while until everyone just decides, yeah, I'm over it, right? Until it loses attention, and everyone decides to move on. So congrats to Stacks. You know, hopefully we get some things more than meme coins, but maybe just like this cycle is really just literally all meme coins, and that's it, which is possible. We are hitting a little bit of a saturation there, though.
And stable coins. I'm surprised that there's not more stable coin attempts on Bitcoin, especially after that bridge acquisition. I'm sure that'll change pretty quickly. Yeah.
The stablecoin wars and the wrapped Bitcoin wars, like that's kind of the two things that are continuing. I think
whoever wins the stablecoin wars on Bitcoin is the winner, right? So, I mean, it should be easy for Tether or USDC to kind of pivot over there a little bit, but interesting that there hasn't been much proof of concepts or anything kind of released, in my opinion.
So you thought that Tether should have done a wrapped Bitcoin product, and they probably would have just dominated it?
I think it should have already been done, yeah. I mean, they make like $3 billion a quarter or something like that. They have a tiny team, so I don't know, it's interesting. I mean, there's so much money in stable coins. Most people want stable coins directly on Bitcoin. Now it's somewhat possible. I'm just kind of surprised that there's not more competition in that circular area. But following the build acquisition from Stripe, I'm confident that there will be very soon.
Yeah. You heard it here first. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. you saw that Tether, I think that was since last time we talked, since last week, they were threatened, or maybe it was old FUD that was just being regurgitated again, that the U.S. government was going to, or the Department of Justice, I think it was going to investigate Tether, which I thought was weird because Tether holds $98 billion in treasury bills. I was like, you can go investigate them. They're literally going to set the dollar to zero.
All button.
How good of game theory is that for Tether, though, to just really come in and fill such a niche that the U.S. government needs directly? And so you automatically have aligned incentives and become allies. Like what a play those guys are.
What a play. I got to say, I mean, I truly believe it was like there was a lot of bad stuff happening at the beginning.
Yeah, like partially backed and stuff.
Partially backed.
There's no question about it. It was a mess.
A lot of stuff. And, but bro, they grew into it, man. And dude, enough money. And it's just, yeah, like to Chris's point, exactly, bro. Now you have aligned incentives, would just make it almost impenetrable, harder, impossible to take down. Yeah, it's super geniuses. I'm sure they're donating like $100 million a year,
For sure.
to congressional campaigns, man. I'm sure,
Yeah, Pensive Shop says Tether has dark origins, just like the USA.
Every country has dark origins. Every country around the entire earth has dark origins because it's been conquered over and over again by different dynasties. So every single country, every landmass has dark origins, just for the record.
Tether is going for that digital dominance. They're land grabbing it there.
Right? That's what everyone wants. That's the #1 company probably in the world right now. That's crazy.
Totally. If there was one where I could just be like, okay, you own that company now,
I'll take that.
Because that's the one. It's like it requires almost no people, right? There's no bodies, there's no employees. It's basically 2 dudes, and that it's an amazing company. And what was I gonna the origins of it were so sketchy. I mean, Jake, you've interviewed him too, but Adam Levine has like a crazy stories from early Tether, where he, they basically wanted him to be like CEO of Tether or whatever, and basically sign all the documents. And he was like, no, I should. But you look back on it, bro, that was like a multi-billion-dollar mistake by him, right? But he was so concerned that they were doing shady stuff that he didn't want to be a part of it. But you think about that, dude. He literally missed out on literally billions of dollars when he didn't do that.
Yeah, Tether started on Bitcoin. Started on Mastercoin. That was the first place that issued Tether. There's still actually like 100 million in Tether. That's kind of just sitting there. But for them, they probably don't give a fuck at this point. Outside of that game theory, semi crypto related, but not really. I wanted to get your guys' take on the Joe Rogan Trump podcast. I watched it almost twice already.
Really? Wow, I gotta watch it. I watched the first 15 minutes.
I don't think for me, it's not the content of the conversation that's like the most important. I think it's the ramifications of what happened. First, that Trump, from a political side, that Trump can sit there for 3 hours and talk, and actually just command the conversation. The fact that, Joe Rogan, in my opinion, is the best interviewer of all time, conversationalist, and he can wiggle away from Joe Rogan trying to really pin down very specific questions. It's like grade A state snakesman, just wiggling his way out. But to me, it's like the final, this is repeated over and over, but it's the final, nail in the coffin for legacy media. 35 million views on YouTube in just 2 days. And then however many audio downloads, it's just it's an insane ramifications. And so the podcasters are now in control. It's a big win for the crypto industry, because everyone does spaces and everyone does podcasts. And so, next cycle, all the politicians are going to be coming to us, and you're going to see it on a much more localized level as well. I think you'll see every regional podcaster start hosting all the local politicians, which is something I was doing a few cycles ago as well. But now it's just clear as day. And now JD Vance is going on Joe Rogan today after Kamala and them backed out. So I thought very important for the future of media and for podcasting, which obviously is tangentially related to the crypto industry.
Did you watch it, Chris?
Yeah, I saw it twice as well.
Shit, I gotta watch. Is that good?
It's
Like,
3 hours,
like that, it's like
and
Star Wars, bro. It's that fucking good. You gotta watch
I mean, Trump is just like an interesting character. There is a lot of rambling, so it can be background noise, just thrown on 2x speed. There was a couple of specific questions that I really wanted him to just kind of boldface answer. One of them, Rogan tried to pin him down like 10 times, and he was like, "What happens when you get elected the president of the United States?" That's a cool question. Like, is there ceremonies? You read the black book, like what's the process like? Not naming specifics, but give an outline. And he just kept on dodging it like crazy. So he never even really gave an answer outside of kind of just looking into the Lincoln bedroom, which he told the story.
I finally turned it on. That's why I got like 15 minutes in, and it was 15 minutes.
The Lincoln bedroom. 15 minutes of the Lincoln
There's
bedroom.
a little picture of Lincoln. It's
You look right, and the Gettysburg Address. So, I mean, those are cool details, right? Like those are interesting details that we don't get to hear a lot. So I thought it was cool. It was really good airtime for him to get some very solid messaging about, his past and just like how bad the media really portrayed him and how so many of his attacks were just completely fabricated and false.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he got that message out clearly to 40 million Americans in a couple of days. I think that's really great. And, yeah, I'd like to see a round two. He's an interesting character. It's really mad to see, what the media has done to this country and like how they can just completely fabricate, someone's entire life that's not even true. And especially someone as public as Trump for the last like 50 years. He's been, right in the front of media for all those years. So I just thought it was an interesting kind of turn of technology really taking the helm again. And beating out the legacy players. I think that it's a step in the right direction, and finally we get to kind of hear from these people as actual people instead of these people ruling down from the ivory tower. So I thought it was a great win for just the country in general, to be honest.
I would like to see Trump go on while he's president. I think that would be another big milestone where where basically a president is now just basically doesn't have to go to the legacy media anymore, right? They can just go to the podcasters. This is something Mark Zuckerberg started doing 3-4 years ago, where he just doesn't do legacy interviews anymore. He goes just straight to podcasters. And you're seeing a lot of the tech billionaires do this. And I'd like to see the politicians start moving that way as well. The one downside I have seen, I try to see like both sides of it, is that if politicians do move towards podcasters, then generally the majority of the conversations are friendly, right? Because you can now pick and choose who you want to go see. So therefore, a lot of these podcasters are not asking the tougher questions, which could dampen some of the integrity of the position, and it maybe could skew the mentality or the direction of where the leader is thinking and wanting to direct. So I think that is something to kind of look for, but it would be really awesome if he was president to go down there and just basically tell, CNN and Fox News and MSNBC to go fuck themselves.
Well, I mean, it's so much harder to play like gotcha politics on a 3-hour interview, right? I guess, yeah, you can cut clips out, but the whole kind of purpose of short form, news program on CNBC or CNN is just like, how can we get you in this 30-second clip? It's like, and nobody wants that in. We're done with that. That's stupid. And we realize that shit's complicated, and let people talk it out and hear rather than trying to completely drive. I mean, we all drive narratives, but yeah, it's just legacy media is incredibly dead. It's incredible how quickly it happened.
Nobody deserves it more than the legacy media. They have absolutely torn this country apart.
I don't know if it was who posted about it. It might have been Sachs or whatever, but the percentage of people in America who believe in legacy media, who trust it, is lower than lawyers and congressmen. It's literally like the lowest of anything like in America. I mean, it's incredible. The drop from like 75% of people in 1995 to basically nobody now. It's really, really incredible. And like my friends who are, outside of the States, grew up outside of the States, to be like, wow, America's finally waking up to propaganda. Like, it's amazing how long we were asleep for. It's literally
long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
Thank
Power
COVID for that, man. Thank COVID.
Yeah, Pat. Yeah, that's when I started doing podcasts in 2020. You started coming a lot more to the middle, realizing, that you can actually say whatever you want. And Trump didn't spill the alpha on aliens and JFK.
Yeah, when are we going to get to hear about these aliens?
Yeah, he hinted that, I've had conversations, very awesome pilots. Right. The circular ship was
Lots
4
of
times
aliens.
faster than an F-45. It's a very fast plane.
It's just interesting. I mean, he's like the only one that can do this. I mean, you have to look at, how much has been exposed over the last couple of years because they had to use so many of their tricks and tools to kind of like reel him in, to kind of stop him from this position, whether it's the lawsuits or the media attacks or whatever it may be. And I mean, this is one guy going against the wishes of the most powerful country on earth, the most powerful unelected bureaucrats in the world. And, he's just managed to slip away. He's literally like, some people just have a specific set of personality traits, that they embody. And he just has the perfect mix just to kind of go against the media and the establishment. And it's crazy that he's persevered through all the attacks that he has. Almost nobody in the world would do that. And that he's actually on the winning edge here. It's insane. This is like the final battle of like American empowerment.
I mean, it is like, I'm actually really hopeful for it, because at the end of the day, to that point, Chris, it's like, well, do we move on from this, like, oh, our government's great and all this sort of stuff, to realize, no, our government's just as shit and as evil as any government. Like, it'll go and kill babies just like any other, and maybe worse in a lot of cases worse. And so some of these things, it's like tearing down this wall of belief in something is super fucking painful. And, I believe that we landed on the moon, but the moon landed, I'm just going to say, you have to say something when you have to preface it. I believe we landed on the moon. I do. But do I believe there were whole portions of that which were faked, like the videos and all? Yeah, like a lot of that stuff like has been proven to be like, oh, they goosed this a little bit to make it look better or cooler or make the Earth look smaller in the distance. Like, they did stuff like that. If that were to come down, like there are things we build up, right? If we know, for example, the JFK thing, we're dropping down a rabbit hole, but if our government literally killed JFK, what does that mean? Like, our belief in something will be shattered, right? And like fully shattered, not just like the people who believe that that's possible, but like my mom, who doesn't believe any of that stuff, right? Who watches only CNN and only reads the New York Times. Like, it'll be shattered for her, right? And if you reach that level of shattered, do you even have a country anymore? What happens then, right? And so, I think that's the thing, that when there's that battle going on, that's really the like final boss. Like, are we going to take away all illusions that this government is somehow like magical and we need to believe in it? Like, no. And what happens after that? I don't know if
we're gonna shatter all of the boomers' dreams. The legacy media is done, and we're gonna rebuild it so that Zoomers can just dump meme coins on us consistently, just like Mr. Beast apparently this morning dumping $25 million on basically all the Zoomers on Solana chain. I haven't gone through this article. I did pull it up, and I saw this pop up like 10 minutes before we hopped on this show. I don't know if any of you guys went through this, but the only thing I have to say without even reading this is that if it's true or not, I'm just not surprised at this point in time. Like, Solana meme coins are literally a casino, and I expect everybody who's participating to be pumping or dumping in some form.
Whoa. I mean, that's just trading tokens. Like, what?
Yeah.
Does it say what he did here, or did he just make $23 million trading?
That's why I said I haven't read it yet. The headlines just say,
I don't see him tweeting about coins, so I don't really follow him. So I'm not sure how he was just quote unquote dumping them if he's not pumping them.
Yeah, well, like, you can tie this, and obviously we were talking about this a little bit before the conversation as well, or before we start recording. Like, obviously Mr. Beast is like, the most popular YouTuber. You have also somebody like Frank, who's right. He's a popular, NFT builder, I guess you'd say, or crypto personality, who also has been going through the ringer recently about trading meme coins, or I don't know if people have been saying pumping or dumping, but he's getting in early and selling. And right, some people, when you read the comments, some people are like, oh, guy buys token low and sells high, right? Is that pumping or dumping? And right. Or is it this idea that pumping and dumping, like the idea of it, or like what constitutes a PND is changing because it's changing alongside tokens, right? Like the definition of a pump and dump traditionally in stocks, right, is using your, your influence to pump up the price and selling directly after. That obviously happens in a much larger, time scale, because with stocks and things like that, where in crypto, everything is much faster. So, is the definition of, a pump and dump also changing, which is, maybe I'll propose that question to either of you.
I think it's like, we haven't got there yet, but we're in the process of understanding that, to what you guys just said, everybody's dumping, right? If you just take it as, no, this is a casino, you buy, you sell. Everybody who bought is looking to sell. I always thought, even when I was in Wall Street, this is crazy. I mean, in Wall Street, they called it get long and then get loud, right? You would buy the stock, then you go on the news program to talk about the stock. Is it the same thing? It's the same thing, other than, oh, well, they're watched by regulators and in theory, something, whatever. You just realize it's all bullshit. Like, they're on there, Cathie Wood's on there pumping her fucking bags and looking for exit liquidity. And so I look at it as all the same thing. Are there kind of better or worse or whatever? Of course, like 1,000,000%. Are there cabals? Fuck yeah. But I mean, did he do it? I don't know. Like, what's the evidence here? Did he just put out, hey, these are my public wallets? I mean, look, he could do this as simple as this. Here's my public wallet. And then he just goes and buys coins. Everybody's going to copy trade him, and then he can dump on the people that copy trade. Like, is that illegal or wrong? I don't know. Probably not. The reality is probably not. What's wrong about that? He's being transparent about it, but he's dumping on his people, and you can either buy or not buy. It's up to you. I mean, I don't know, man. There's no like easy answer for this, but I think this is a nothing burger, because to Chris's point, he's definitely not making any videos. I know that without even looking at it. And if he tweeted on the timeline about a token, we'd have damn well known about it. Like, there's no way that happened.
So it looks like from this first indictment, I guess, something called Superverse, he participated in the ICO, or the pre-sale ICO, which was open to public investors, which nothing wrong there. And then apparently he replied to 2 tweets where he put super ? And then one he just put eyes, and then he followed the account and sold, I guess. I don't see anything wrong there.
Bro. Yeah. I mean, look, that is what it is. That's what we would call a soft shill in the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, come on, man. What are we doing here? I mean,
you've got Mark Andreessen pumping all the AI tokens.
Wow, look at those sell orders, man.
If Mark Andreessen is pumping and dumping, I don't know. I think anyone can do whatever they want, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Beast can do whatever he wants, that's for sure.
Yeah, so outside of, Mr. Beast, then, like, is everything then, is there anything that's a hard no? Is it just, you should be prosecuted for quote unquote whatever this pump and dump is? Or in crypto now, is everything just being redefined and it's literally just going to be the wild, wild west moving forward?
I think it's totally moving goalposts all the time, man.
Yeah.
All the time. There is no perfect solution. Like, whatever. I hold Solana, right? Am I now not allowed to talk about Solana before I'm selling or something? I mean, what are we even doing here? It's stupid. I have old Bitcoin. If I sell my Bitcoin, but yet I'm still bullish on Bitcoin, does that make me a bad person or whatever? I mean, what are we doing? Just realize everybody's dumping, everybody's shilling, and then move on. Like, and just understand that every post from everybody is an auto shill, right? And that's it. Then we can move on and realize what it is, because that's what it is at the core. Like, we're all trying to convince everybody that our point of view is the right point of view. Mm-hmm. And certainly the bags I hold reflect my point of view, right? So I don't know. I think it's just time to move on from this whole thing, but we need to work it out. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, I just feel like meme coins and this whole new kind of sector of the industry is just like the entertainment category of crypto. And I think like that's like kind of the consumer application that we've been really looking for. And I think that, you know, you can tell by the audience that's kind of really like flocked to it, and how big the metrics are. Like, that's the most interesting form of crypto now. And so, is it a form of gambling? Is it a form of entertainment? Is it a form of lottery? Maybe, but it's something that people really connect with. And, you know, these tokens, what's cool about them is they just last on the internet forever, you know. So, you know, especially with the Bitcoin tokens, you have one ticker that can ever exist with a specific name. And so even if it's just a flash in the pan for now, a lot of these cycles continuously repeat themselves. So it might have value going forward. And I don't know, you can just kind of relive that entertainment cycle over and over again, I think, especially on the Bitcoin chain. So I don't really see it as much as pumping and dumping. I think I think that kind of perspective has lost its kind of glitter over the years. It's not as serious. I'm not like endorsing pumping and dumping. Obviously, blatant pumping and dumping is terrible for the industry. I've been against it forever. But I think like just grouping all of these people in as kind of pump and dumpers or scammers, I think is just the wrong approach these days.
Yeah. Yeah. As everything becomes faster, and maybe it's just becoming more apparent on Solana because it's so fast now that a lot of these transactions and tweets and stuff happen literally within minutes of each other. To where
I do have to bring up though that just a year ago, Solana was the poor chain, and then that totally flipped pendulums to Ethereum being the eternal poor chain. So karma is really rough. Huh? Those guys have had a tough year, but they really dished out some pretty tough criticism. It's funny to see karma work.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at kind of what's unfolded. Last cycle, Bitcoin was kind of in the position that Ethereum was in, right? It was there's no utility, nobody's building shit on it, right? It was, what was it? Digital rock, right? It's the boomer coin. Now this cycle, it's moved down to Ethereum, where basically Ethereum's stuck between, now it's stuck between a digital rock and like a fucking meme, like a meme amusement park. It doesn't know what to do. It's kind of stuck. Makes me wonder, like, next cycle, this is probably coming to Solana, but what's the narrative going to be? What's it stuck between? Is it stuck between now Ethereum figures it out? 4 years from now, Ethereum is able to scale and it has, hundreds of L2s. And then, Solana is this, monolithic chain. And then whatever comes next, whatever the narrative is, should be interesting. I don't know what it is, but I predicted, like, I think it was like a year. I think it was like some point last year that Ethereum or Solana's culture war is going to be the battle against L2s, right? It's going to be, right. You could see it something like next cycle where people are going to be like, we need to be more like Ethereum, right? We need more L2 so that people can build, whatever, super centers or whatever. The majority of people are like, no, we're a monolithic chain. We can't do that. We can't be Ethereum. Even though I see totally already talking about how L2s are inevitable on Solana at some point.
Oh, really? Is that true? They're already starting to think that way on Solana?
Yeah, I also just don't think people really care, to be honest. Like, I think people are going to build L2s and it's just going to be a thing. But I think that the route that Solana took was the most interesting and impactful, is that it's, it's more modular, right? Or less modular.
Less modular.
So, yeah. I just think that, like, the approach from the beginning, the strategy that they took obviously was a powerful one. And if they need to expand to L2s in the future, that's complete. I mean, you're going to have side chains or app chains anyways, regardless. Like, that's no stopping that. So they're going to exist for sure. But I just think that the approach is the important thing here.
Yeah, I think what Solana did great was they basically built outside of the EVM. They built basically their own virtual machine through Rust, which at the time was unheard of or actually had no success. And so they went through the rough patches and they hit a little bit of luck along the way in terms of these different kind of cultures developing. But it just makes me wonder what's the next thing then. Right now, the door has been ripped down in terms of, I can build a virtual machine outside of EVM. The pendulum's swinging that way. What does it swing back to EVM or does it swing back to L2s or kind of whatever? I don't know, Chris. I saw you had something to say.
Just that, like, the culture, in my opinion, really kind of crafted around Solana because of what was possible on it, not the other way around. No one was really on Solana in the early days, like, just kind of because it was Solana. They were on Solana because it was cheap, fast, allowed those kind of transactions to occur in that community to kind of have grassroots adoption, because it was for everyone. It wasn't just 10 plus, 15 plus dollar transactions. It was very cheap. So it was extremely inclusive from the beginning. So that was like a product of the actual ecosystem and setup. And then just in terms of how you mentioned that it was kind of siloed because it didn't participate in the EVM. And that was like one of the biggest selling points for me early on, how I could tell that there was a ton of like organic traction there. It's kind of like an analogy of maybe someone that has a corporate job and makes 100K a year and someone that's self-employed and makes 100K a year. Yeah, like they're both making money, but the one that's making 100K self-employed has so much more freedom. It's so much more powerful than someone that works a corporate job, right? Just in terms of like sovereignty. And so building against the EVM and then having organic attraction and actual users on the platform was a huge green flag. So that's an important point from you, Jake.
Yeah. I remember Chris trying to sell me on Solana like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
$9, you were like, nah, it's a garbage coin.
No, I think at the time it was when Solana was like heavy pumping. Okay. But he was just showing me on like all the different points, and I was like, there's no way that this is gonna take on the EVM. It
was so fun to use Solana in those first days when every other chain was just completely miserable to use. It was literally fun to send instant transactions and see tokens in your wallet seconds later. That's the promise of crypto. So
yeah, and I'm interested to see what the next narrative is, but I think Emblem plays a role in the interoperability of all that. Being able to pair it all together, being the abstraction layer, right? I don't know if you saw Vitalik. He's been posting, I think he has like 6 or 7 essays now on like the different future roadmaps of Ethereum. And inside every single one, I only read like 3 of them, but in the first 3 that I read, interoperability, L2 interoperability is literally like labeled in all of them. And the one thing that I'm noticing is that when he's speaking about L2 interoperability, he's talking about fungible tokens. There's no mentions ever of interoperability for NFTs, right? That's what we do, right? So we basically are just going to be working, in the shadows or in the silence to where, if Emblem has the ability, to be the L2 interoperability protocol for NFTs, and, you could wedge it in there across all chains, there's no way to defeat it. There's like a proposal that Vitalik has where they basically want to change the fungible token standards so that all of these tokens are interoperable across all these L2 chains.
Yeah.
But that means that, all the existing framework of these tokens then they have to be wrapped, or they have to go through another process, or it's like you have basically even more fragmentation because now you have these like interoperable tokens and these non-interoperable tokens. Right. So it is a little bit tough. I do think that Ethereum will figure it out over time. It's probably just going to take a little bit longer.
It's interesting. The thing that's created the biggest cults and cultures in crypto, are NFTs. Right. And so it's interesting that that's kind of like almost not even thought about. Like, how do you move cultures between chains? Well, the easiest thing is you get everybody move their PFPs around, but yeah, I don't know. Might be an opportunity there. I'm not sure.
Not sure. Yeah, not sure at all. Final point actually was listening to the podcast on Ink. Ink is Kraken's L2. And I was listening to, I forget the guy's name who's running the operations over there, about like why they are doing an L2. And it's just making me realize that all these different companies are doing L2s for different reasons, right? That's what's caused a lot of fragmentation. And it's never going to go back. You're never going to have somebody creating an L2 for, the same reason. And so for them, it was this idea of how do we take our existing users and peg them into the on-chain world? It's the same idea as Base. Well, we're just going to funnel them through this L2 and then try to link it to all of these other systems. But then I was listening that they built it through, I think it was the Arbitrum stack. And so all these everyone who uses the Arbitrum stack is all interoperable. It's all easy. But all of those who are building on the Polygon stack or the Optimism stack, there's issues with interoperability, right? And so now it's like almost like a residency where out here in Vegas where Chris and I live, like these nightclubs, they compete for all these DJs with high bidding prices to get them in their club. But then their club also has, you know, multiple venues. Like when I worked at Omnia nightclub, it had, you know, 5 or 6 different clubs that were part of it. So once you sign them to one, then you can interact with all of the other clubs. And that's kind of what I'm seeing happening now with like the Ethereum L2 spaces. You have these like 3, they call them the super chains, right? Polygon, Ethereum, and Optimism. They're now competing for, right, the Kraken L2 or the Coinbase L2 or the, you know, XYZ L2, the Pudgy Penguin L2, so that they can all be, you know, part of their residency. And then the big question is what happens, you know, once they grow too big. But
and none of it matters if there's not stuff built there that people want to fucking use. Like it literally doesn't make any fucking difference, man. It's amazing, but there's a lot of money sloshing around building this stuff, man. There's a lot of money because obviously if you win in those spaces, your underlying token, just look at Solana, right? You become a billionaire if you invested early in that type of stuff. So, you know, and it was one of the reasons why when Solana was dumping, went to $9, whatever, I was like, dude, Solana is going to be dead. All we were talking about is like how much SBF still had, you know, in FTX, and like, oh my God, when they sell that, you know, $1 trillion worth, you know, how much they have 30% of Solana, and that's all going to get liquidated by the, you know, by the bankruptcy court and blah, 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 blah. You know, but we were wrong, completely wrong.
One of the interesting things from just that time frame is that the reason that Solana really kind of made it through was because it had this kind of grassroots diehard NFT community.
Totally.
That's like really what saved it. Fungible tokens didn't really exist. They existed, but no one really cared about them, traded them. DeFi wasn't really that big of a value prop. It was a super small ecosystem. So it was really the NFT ecosystem that kind of like stood by them and kind of planted their flags down. But the NFT ecosystem still hasn't really recovered. It's actually like the last to recover. So that's kind of weird that they kind of endured through the most stressful times, but then the ecosystem, that segment of it, just never really prospered. It's kind of interesting in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's interesting that Kraken chose a different tech stack to build on than Coinbase, right? I guess they didn't want to.
I didn't want to correct you, but I believe that they did build on Optimism.
Oh, did they?
Did they choose the same one? And Coinbase are actually both on the
Oh, okay. I thought it was. I must have mislistened or overheard.
Which is to your point, though. Now they're kind of stacking these behemoths on the OP stack, and it's going to be very difficult for anyone outside of them to get traction, right?
Yeah, in those 2 cases, right, they also have real users to bring in, right? Where it's like when you build some of these other L2s, right, you have to compete, right? So like nothing against, like Merlin, for example, we talk about, right? They're now competing for different users. They're trying to bring the Bitcoin users or the, I guess, multi-chain users over to their, you know, kind of community, or as Vitalik calls it, like a server, right? They're L2s are kind of just like beefed up servers, which is kind of true. Whereas Kraken and Coinbase have been building a customer base for 10 years now, each, where Merlin has to offer these type of incentives over. So it's kind of a different type of, you know, marketing style, I guess.
Totally.
So shall be interesting, to say the least. But one thing we do know is that Emblem will try to pair it all together. And from the NFT
Optimism grant program, man, got to make that happen, bro. Now I'm bullish on optimism again.
Yeah, the big loser in all of that was Polygon. They had the biggest lead ever, and they just totally botched all of it.
Totally.
Somebody was talking about ZK Sync the other day, and I totally forgot that ZK Sync even existed. It's like so far down the stack of Optimism, Arbitrum, Base, etc., and they raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and I completely forgot they existed for years. So.
Bro, we forgot up until Polymarket, Polygon was dead, right? I mean, it's like, it's so incredible.
That's got to be the only thing keeping that chain alive.
Literally the only, you know, the best thing about Polymarket is it's got the word poly in the name, right? It's like, Jesus, you know, it's like, but the reality is that end users really don't care where the stuff is built. You know, the key for crypto really is having killer apps. Like that's the key. It almost doesn't even matter where it's built. But it can rescue a chain. That's for sure. Like that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, bridging experience has got to improve. How long will it be? Or Solana is just going to be the new Bitcoin, right? Solana's money now.
That is a great pair, though. The Bitcoin Solana pair is just So they complement each other so greatly, don't they?
They do. I mean, we talk about this a lot, that Bitcoin is like the mass export chain. There's like, it'll be interesting to see once, you have Emblem on Bitcoin, all these other protocols, right? You have the TAP ICP thing, and now you have the Cardano Bit OS kind of thing that's going on here, right? Will there be a successful, change of thought or perspective that, Bitcoin's not export only, right? It's now import. And then how will that work with the mempool? I don't know. That'll be an interesting. There'll be some specific use cases, right? We saw Raktoshi, who we were talking with, wanted to put Emblem on Bitcoin, right? For the novelty of just having it on Bitcoin and getting it more closely related to Bitcoin exposure, right? The unit bias idea. I could sell a CryptoPunk for 5 Bitcoin, or I can try to sell it for 150 ETH, right? Like that unit bias is real. But with Solana, right? Solana hasn't really moved to like becoming an import chain that much. It's nothing compared to what ETH has done. So I wonder if like Solana will become something like that, where synthetic assets move over there,
I think
or
it
if
does,
it just
like a lot of volume happens on like wormhole tokens like SPX and Pepe and things like that. So I think a lot of that trading volume actually does happen on Solana.
Does it?
Wormhole tokens, man. I brought some wormhole Solana over. I can't even use it. Where do I use that stuff? How do I get it out? Like literally, that's one of those things. At first, I was like, "Oh, cool! You can wormhole the Solana." I just put it. It's like in my wallet. I can't use it anywhere. How does that work? How does that work, bro?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need wormhole Solana. You can just buy wormhole tokens on Solana. So you can buy the wormhole SPX. You don't really need the wormhole Solana to buy the wormhole SPX. You know what I mean? So it's kind of.
I just want Sol to be able to buy, meme coins, bro. Why can't I use my Sol meme? What's it? My wormhole Solana to buy meme coins. Why can't I do that, dude?
Not yet.
Soon, man.
Soon. Apparently, Magic Eden's supposed to be doing that, but we'll save that conversation for another day. Another fun talk, gents. Tomorrow, for those that are still here with us, we have the Emblem at Town Hall tomorrow. Actually, a lot of cool, awesome announcements coming tomorrow. I think tomorrow is actually like the official. It'll be the official beginning of the next chapter of Emblem 2.0. Shannon's been cooking. I think Emblem 2.0 is actually almost finished. It's like 95% there. And some cool AI announcements, potentially. Also some advancements with our expansion program, and maybe some new things for Koval as well, for the Koval holders out there. So definitely you're going to want to tune into all of the town halls moving forward. A lot of big things that we've been working on. And maybe Emblem will then be the wormhole of NFTs, or we just consume it all. Which is the goal here. So appreciate everyone who joined us for this conversation. Make sure you follow the Emblem account so that you can stay in touch with all of the cool and awesome conversations that we have here Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, make sure that you tune in to the town hall tomorrow. Watch it on video, because I do show an awesome presentation that I create every month just for you guys to see where we are at. 6 days away from the election, or until Judgment Day. And I guess I want to check out that JD Vance podcast when it comes out, maybe tomorrow or something like that. I think that'll actually be a little bit more interesting than the Trump one, but we'll see. Until then, guys, we'll see you tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and stay safe.
Later.